You never quite know when you're going to run into somebody or run into something when you're out there on the water, just like some of our people will experience in this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. Sometimes it's hard to believe some of the things we see boaters run into. I mean, it's hard to imagine that a boater actually missed this wall, or the last boater missed that massive ship out in the sea, but sometimes we won't see it coming. One of the things we won't see coming quite a lot out there on the water, that's going to be the old sandbars. Probably one of the most common things we see people hit when they're out there enjoying a day of boating. But if you do wind up on the sandbar, always try and push off first. Try and find a way to get off that sandbar without using power, and never ever do this, as this is one of the worst things we can do when we're out there on the water, is have people anywhere near our propeller and the motor on and in gear. Bad things happen really fast when this is going on. This situation here really is ironic in many ways, such as the fact that Sea Tow is right there and could easily pull these guys off. And they even had a warning sign. Look at how stuck this boat is. They had to see this and know that they probably needed to push out well before then. But no, they decided to hang out, and then they wind up in this situation. One of the worst parts of this is Sea Tow has offered to tow them off this sandbar. Of course they're going to charge them, but these guys said, no, we've got this, we'll do it ourselves. Fortunately, they do eventually figure it out. They had the motor trimmed down, and the motor was actually stuck in the sand, preventing them from being able to move the boat. So again, once they turn the motor off and just trim it up, guess what? They're able to get out. Now, of course, there's more than just sandbars out there on the water that you can hit. There are plenty of other things for you to find yourself in mischief with, but one of the biggest parts of things that you hit out of the water is going to be at which speed you hit them at. That's one of the key parts of boating, is never approach anything any faster than you're willing to hit it. Now, in this situation, we can see this crew basically isn't even motoring, they're just kind of floating. Unfortunately, we missed the real fun part of the action here, is somehow Cap went overboard and his left wife on the boat, and he's trying to get back on board now.
She's got the motor started. He's touching the motor. Going for the rocks. Look.
Now that is one thing I do agree with. If anybody's anywhere near that motor in the water, it should just be turned off. Now, one of the fortunate parts about this situation though, our guy's about to get on board, but as you can tell, once again, speed plays a role as this crew's heading toward the rocks. Now, fortunately, at this pace, they would likely be okay if they wound up hitting into the rocks, but still it could be a dangerous situation. Fortunately, Cap makes it back to the helm literally just in the nick of time. Right here we can see he's back at the helm, and his first attempt to even back off kind of gets him stuck on the rocks, and then he's able to lightly back off shortly after that. But one thing I would tell you as well, anytime you approach a rock formation like this, be careful because there's typically loose rocks around it.
Bunch of rocks right there.
Now, I'm not 100% certain how this crew made this one out of this unscathed, because I thought for sure some bad was going to go on here, but somehow this crew winds up slowly floating this one out. And speaking of floating it out, sometimes you don't want to hit things on the water, such as when you're trying to get in the boat, the last thing you want to do is hit the water. So sometimes you might have to do the old tightrope act to try and get yourself on the boat without falling in. But my only real question in this situation is how the heck did he get over there to begin with? There's no dock, nothing around him. So somehow he had to wind up over on that pole, but I'm just not 100% sure exactly how they got there. But somehow my guy makes it back, and somehow he's going to make it back dry. Thanks for watching, crew. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Jordan Sells, Don Chester, Strong Island Jet Ski, Dennis Unitas, and Foam Lamb 1 did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.